LTH product briefing. I'm thrilled today to be joined by Luis Alves Dias, the CEO and co-founder of Legau. Luis, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you, and I'm really excited to show our viewers Legau, a full drafting lifecycle tool for lawyers. Can you tell us a little bit about how Legau came to be?
Yeah, so we are three founders. Two of us came from the industry. So Diogo and I spent almost a decade in at large international law firms, while Luis, the other founder, so there are two Luises in our founding team, spent 15 years as an engineer in working in tech companies. We've been friends for many years and we always enjoyed collaborating and doing projects together. And at some point in time, Diogo and I talked about the frustrations that we felt as practicing attorneys in the legal drafting process. And although we had access to really good software tools at the time for legal drafting, we never really felt that they were accessible to the attorneys' reality because the learning curve was really high and so no one actually used them. So the legal drafting process had so many inefficiencies and productivity losses from our perspective that we decided to do something about it. And that was how Legau came up as an idea. And of course, the product today is the product, sorry for repeating, but is a product of a lot of contributions from a lot of people. But the beginning was about me and Diogo basically thinking about the frustrations we felt when we were drafting documents.
I love it. So it was really created to solve a pain point that you experienced yourselves. And Luis, just before we go into the product demo itself, when was Legau founded?
We were founded in July 21, so actually 3 years this month. And but the first version of the product was launched like 6 months after that, so in the first quarter of 2022.
Okay. And it has good traction already, right? In Portugal. And now you're making your US launch.
Yes, we established a good presence in our own jurisdiction, working with top law firms, and now we are expanding to the US and we are targeting size US firms. I think that will be our sweet spot in the US. And we actually have an early adopters program that offer exclusive advantages to mid-size US firms.
Luis, let's jump in and have a look at the product.
Okay, sure. Okay, so let me share the screen. Okay, before showing you the product, I wanted to tell you that we have this holistic approach to legal drafting that helps you attorneys go from what we call point A, which is a blank page in front of you, to point Z, which is a legal document ready to be sent. And we believe that entails usually 4 stages: the research part where you are gathering the right information for you, then the planning of the document, the creation of the document itself, and then reviewing the document to make sure it's ready to be sent. So I'm excited to show you a little bit of how we do that. And for instance, how 38% of our users are saving more than 30% of their time in legal drafting. And to and here we are in Word. So, with the blank page in front of us. And to keep the demo, I want to show you one of our AI use cases that is changing the way attorneys are drafting legal documents in a very powerful way and with 3 simple steps. So you select the references you want to have. It can be, for instance, your standards, it can be previous experience that you find helpful to you in this new case. Then you provide some context about the new case to the assistant so that he understands how to adjust your references, your bases to the new case. And step 3 is basically the assistant generating the document for you. And we are giving an example here of a contract, but it can be whatever type of legal document, and you can see it live in here. Now, this will take 3 to 5 minutes to complete for something that would take you, in this case, 2 or 4 hours to complete. We don't have that time, I know, so I'll stop it here. And what I'll do is I've generated a contract with the same context before our demo so that we can use as a basis. But one of the first things I would do actually when drafting, for instance, a contract would be check the internal standards, right? And that you can do in what we call documents. So here firms can centralize all their curated knowledge and organize it as they wish. And it doesn't need to be contracts. So it can be all types of documents. It actually doesn't even need to be Word documents. You can have PDFs, PowerPoints, Excels in here. So it's really a way for you to make sure, for you as a firm, to make sure that you have your standards here and that from the trainee to the partner, everyone is using the right information. Now, we are drafting a consulting agreement here. So I'll show you an example of what you could see in that case. But again, it doesn't need to be about contracts. Here you would have.
Sorry to interrupt, but what I think is so clever is when you generated this first draft, you're pulling out the type of reference document you want, but then you're also using the AI chat to amend that document for the current circumstances of the matter you're working on. So right from the get-go, as it's generated, it already takes into account who you're acting for and the current circumstances, which kind of cuts down on a step I've seen in a lot of other products. It's very clever. And then here, when you're pulling up another reference doc, you're doing it just to check against a different standard or to ensure that you've captured everything in this first draft. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Okay.
definitely it. Yes. So you can come here and let's say you want to add something about ownership. You have the structure, which can also be helpful to you if you just want to have a look at the structure. But you can, let's say you want something about ownership to add to our contract, or as you said, to double check if we had the right clause here. And you can just click on it and it will paste and assume the formatting. You can also use, because many times you just want to start from template, you can also do that as well, and then adjust your template. But let's continue with our example. And this is from the perspective of someone who's drafting. But if you want to review the contract, let's say it came from the counterparty, you can actually do it as well using your bank of contents. So your bank of alternatives, you can just drag and drop, see what's different between your standards and what came from the counterparty. And if you want to insert the markup, you just click in here and it does it for you, saving you countless hours in the review and markup process. Now, if I was drafting a contract, I would also check the DMS system probably to see previous experience that, although was not created, it could be helpful to me. We integrate with the major DMS systems, so I manage NetDocuments, SharePoint, OneDrive, you name it. And usually my experience on those DMS systems would be I end up with a list of documents. I would have to click one by one, open each one of them, do control finds, make sure they are relevant to me, and I had to manage a lot of windows, right? So with this full integration, we have you are directed inside the document to what might be relevant to you, and you can just copy paste whatever you have in front of you and use it in your document. Or if you need, of course, you can open the document from here as well. So you do a quick triage of what is relevant to you. If you need to open the document, you already know it's because it's relevant to you, and you can use whatever you are seeing here. So knowledge is no longer lost. And the metadata you see here in the filters are customizable for you as well. Now, many times we don't have references, previous experience, or even standards we can use, but we can also use the AI assistant to help us with that. And I'll use exactly the same example we have here with and generate basically a structure for my contract. And again, you can submit again the number of times you want to have multiple alternatives, or you can use as well the chat. Once it generated the structure, you'll have a chat in the end that allows you to iterate on the structure or even ask for help generating the clauses from here or also from here. But again, this from the perspective of someone that is drafting, but you can also ask for help if you are reviewing the document. Let's say you want to redline this clause from the perspective of the consultant in this case. And in this case, I think this is a really good example of a use case where you are not just accelerating the process, but also giving peace of mind to the attorney, giving like an echo box to make sure I have considered everything in my work. And you can see here the changes that the AI assistant suggests in this case from the perspective of the consultant. All of them seem to make perfect sense. So if you want to replace, it replaces and do the track changes for you. So again, saving you the manual work of doing it. Now, you have many other use cases here, but let's say we are finished and we want to share our document with our client. The good news is that we are also available on Outlook. So you can also ask for help, replying to emails, writing emails from scratch. But what I wanted to show here is something that attorneys really appreciate according to their feedback to us, which is the email template. So we all have been in situations where we are looking for that answer that we provided to a client in the past. We dig deep in our emails, we go to the DMS system, and we sometimes we don't find it, or sometimes we waste too much time to find it. So the next time an attorney is drafting an email, you can actually save it as a template and organize it as you wish and share it with whom you wish your colleagues or department. And the next time you need to use it, you just have to click in here and you are ready to adjust it and send it to your client, for instance.
That is so
So
useful. I would use that about 5 times a day.
it's a star among partners, for instance. Yes, but getting back to Word, I just wanted to show you because we've been talking about the internal knowledge component, let's say, of our product. But I wanted to also mention that we have an external knowledge component. We have, for instance, more than 9 million court decisions from state and federal courts in the US. You can use the filters, of course, but you can do your research without leaving the place where you are actually drafting your memo or your court filing. And you can open the decision from here, again, still inside of Word. And you can, as you read it, select whatever it's relevant to you. And when you have your selection, it does the citations for you. So you don't need to spend that time making sure the citations are correct or that they are harmonized throughout your document. And there's also something that might be really interesting for litigation lawyers, which is you can use the system to ask questions about the decision you have here. And we made it so that it only answers about what's in the decision. So there's guardrails. And instead of you reading it through all of this, you can just ask a few questions and process the information much more faster. There's plenty of other things and features we have, and some of them really powerful and very helpful to attorneys in the legal drafting process. But this is in a glimpse what we are doing at Legau.
Thank you so much. So really, it takes you through from planning your first draft through to drafting, reviewing, negotiating. And I love the fact that you can pull in your own knowledge base with precedents and clauses, as well as external legal research databases. Very
Yes.
clever.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. For those interested in learning more about Legau, we will put a link across the bottom of the screen so that you know where to reach out to Luis and his team. Thank you again for being with us, and thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time.